I like Michael Waltrip. I do want to mention that first. He is such pro driver, always has been as an announcer. But for one, she definitely didn't lose her brakes, and for two, she definitely intentionally took out Dean Thompson. There's no other way to look at that. She turned right going into a left hand corner. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on the whole Hailie Deegan just pretty much wiping out Dean Thompson for what, 24th?
Yeah. I again, we talk about this a lot actually. We don't with backmarker teams and them saving their stuff, just trying to be there towards the end. And I'm not saying really that Dean Thompson is a backmarker, but um this was this was not a way to race for the position that they were racing for. And then we saw them go into the corner. Hailie Deegan knew that, the 5 was going to squeeze her pretty good going into turn 1, and then it looks like she just went straight. There was no tire smoke or anything like that, like she was locking up the brakes, but why would you be locking up anyways? Um, I don't. It's comical. The whole weekend with the truck series and what she was involved in was comical.
Yeah, she
Honestly, it was
just a
good
disastrous
entertainment.
disastrous race here by Hailie Deegan. I know that I posted that video where last week that basically summarized that her team has given up on her. ThorSport has completely given up on her. And that video's gained a lot of traction, and a lot of the feedback on that video, it seems like the tide is shifting here on this whole Hailie Deegan saga. Her fans are in hiding, and all the people that use logic and knowledge and stats are starting to come to the surface and starting to understand what's going on here. And I think that Ford and ThorSport, I think that they're on the verge of giving up on her. I mean, her stats aren't there. She isn't making big leaps in improvement. When you see your team leaving her out on these tracks, just with no tires, just trying desperately to get the best finish. I mentioned this to Jared this weekend when we are in the process of moving. I was telling him that you know that a team has given up on you when they're doing random things like this to try and get good results because their jobs are on the line right here. Not only is it Hailie Deegan's or career on the line, but these guys that are working on her team, their careers are on the line. Like this could be a death knell. We've seen it several times in the past with other organizations and other crew members where like a lot of the people that worked for Danica Patrick, a lot of their reputations were stained. And just name any other driver that's had terrible examples. That's probably a bad example, but a lot of drivers have had terrible, terrible careers, terrible runs, and it just hurts their team. And they're working for their job, so these results are important to them as well. And yeah, just a disastrous weekend. She just was all over the place, had no speed, and I feel like that it's just dragging the whole ThorSport team down because you see Majeski running up front. I think he finished second in this race. You saw Ben Rhodes have trouble, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Crafton really is well past his prime. I don't know if you agree with that or not. He doesn't seem
I
like the
do, yeah.
Crafton of old, and it just seems like they don't have a development anymore, like to build this program, and they're putting all their eggs in that Hailie Deegan basket, and it just ain't working
Yeah.
out. And
Yeah, I think Ford put a lot in that basket, and and ThorSport bought into it, and it's just not materializing like they like to have had it materialized by now. And I think that we actually got some really good insight on some of the comments in that video too, inside ThorSport. And so I think that in the coming weeks we'll see probably a lot more desperation, probably out of some calls from the pit box, maybe from Hailie Deegan herself. We might even see the higher ups of ThorSports say something, kind of like how, um, Justin Marks came out and told Ross Chastain that he needs to cool his jets. And it might be something like that. Well, we don't know per se, but it would be something that I would expect.
right. And like I said on one of the comments, they said something like they were giving up on her, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I agree, but my thought is everybody without a doubt knows she has talent. You have to have some sort of talent. With her resume before the truck series, she has talent. But when a sport where all your stats matter and stats are what you base your entire career on, and you don't have the stats or you don't have the consistent runs to back up your ability, your opportunity or show that you deserve what you have, then your career is just done. You're done. And I think that the Hailie Deegan experiment has ran its course. And I think that here in the next few months, we probably see some, like you mentioned, some rumblings about maybe driver swap for next year and maybe doing something else. Maybe Ford drops her. And I think if Ford drops her, I think it's done. I think the Hailie Deegan experiment will
Yeah.
be done. And we'll see her as just a YouTube sensation at that point because she has a cult following. And those people you can't talk sense into. You could give them all the facts in the world and they're still going to argue with you because they go based upon emotion and not facts. And that's the biggest
Yep.
problem with fans. So, um, I mean, there's nothing else you could say about Hailie Deegan. You can't even bag on her anymore because she's just not getting the job done. She's not going to get the job done. And if you haven't come to the acceptance of that as a fan, well, you're a fan. And that's all there is to it. You're not an objective observer like we are, and we're going based upon stats and video and footage and performance, and none of it's there. So, I mean, is there anything else you want to add to that whole
No,
thing?
no, that's it, man. Like, again, you know, sometimes you just have to look at it at a facts standpoint when we're talking about stats, when we're talking about on track activities, when we're talking about off track activity. You know, you have people who really want to be there, and then you have people who are building go-kart tracks in their backyard.
Well said. We'll leave it at that.